from the Cox Business Convention Center in downtown Tulsa. Welcome to the 94th Annual Oklahoma Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. Tonight, we celebrate the lives and accomplishments of 8 extraordinary Oklahomans with induction to the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, our state's single highest honor. The 2021 Oklahoma Hall of Fame honorees are Roscoe Dunjee, Stanley L. Evans, Scott Hendricks, Hannibal B. Johnson, Yvonne Kauger, Paula Marshall, Harvey Pratt, and Jim Stovall. And now, please welcome the mayor of the city of Tulsa, G.T. Bynum.
Thank you very much. It's my privilege to welcome you to the city of Tulsa and to the 94th Annual Oklahoma Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tonight we will bestow our state's highest honor on 8 remarkable and deserving Oklahomans. And let me say that again, our state's highest honor. The men and women you will learn more about this evening have devoted their time, talents, and energy to make Oklahoma, the nation, and the world a better place for you and me. And it's because of their commitment to each of us that we are celebrating them here tonight. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame has been bestowing our state's highest honor since 1928, and tonight's honorees will bring the number of those inducted to 722. And due to the global pandemic, last year's induction ceremony was the first to be held virtually. With 3 of the inductees with us this evening, please join me in celebrating the Oklahoma Hall of Fame class of 2020. Calvin J. Anthony from Stillwater. Chief Gary Batton of Clayton. Martha Berger of Oklahoma City. Charles Dennis Denny Cressup of Afton. Terri Stewart Forrest of Waurika. Stephen M. Prescott of Oklahoma City. Francis Rooney of Tulsa. And John W. Smith of Del City. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing the Oklahoma Hall of Fame class of 2020. It's true, Oklahoma's greatest natural resource is our people. And tonight is a night that I look forward to all year long. It's a night we celebrate our own. Our sense of pride in being an Oklahoman is heightened. This night always reignites the fire inside each of us to do more and to do better. And I want to thank you for joining us this evening and for supporting the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. And now, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the Masters of Ceremonies for the 94th Annual Oklahoma Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Governor Bill Anoatubby and Chief Gary Batton.
Well, thank you, Mayor Bynum. I missed him. I was going to say bye. But thank you, Mayor Bynum, wherever you may be. Well, first, Chief Batton, congratulations again. And the class of 2020 on receiving this highest honor in Oklahoma. Last year was the first time in the history of Oklahoma that the Hall of Fame, that it didn't have an in-person induction ceremony. It couldn't because of the pandemic, so it didn't take place. And I think I can speak for everyone, people that are here and a lot of people probably who aren't. It's good to be back.
Well, halito and hello, Governor, and definitely it certainly is great to be back and see all the wonderful faces. At the end of the day, being able to wear this medallion is the real honor, though. And to know it comes from my home state and understand its symbolism, I can't wait for this year's honorees to feel that sense of pride. You were inducted in person. What advice would you give the 2021 honorees?
It's really a good question, Chief. I think it's a little bit overwhelming when this happens, obviously, and so I think they just need to embrace it, you know, and get to know the other inductees, celebrate the achievements, and just celebrate in general. And believe me when I say that you will remember everybody that's in your class. You develop these relationships with your fellow honorees, and tonight, the folks who are being inducted will experience that same thing.
Well, that's great advice. As a matter of fact, you better watch it, because if you become an honoree, then they might make you the master of ceremonies the next year. So, and I look at this crowd and so many family members, friends, and colleagues here to be a part of this special night. What a tribute to this year's class and the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
And the Oklahoma Hall of Fame Orchestra under the direction of Jeff Kidwell. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a great night.
By the way, Governor, I was just curious, can I have your autograph?
I guess so, Chief. What?
Well, you know, I just saw you in a movie, and I have to ask, I mean, Blake's being here, are you going to move west? Are you going to move to Hollywood as well?
Well, Chief Batton, it's really challenging. It's something you wanted to find out, though. Didn't you want to know about how to get in a movie?
Yes, I sure did. Well, I tell you, it's great to see that. I don't know how many of y'all have seen on Netflix the movie Munford, the Chickasaw Rancher, and the movie Tiata. And Governor actually plays a part of those on Netflix, and so I'd encourage you to go watch those. He looked like a true Western outlaw is what he did.
Well, you know, you asked me if you could get in a movie, right? How do you get into a movie?
Yes.
Well, you have to have really good acting skills, right? Or you have to be governor of the Chickasaw Nation.
I understand that too, Governor.
I thank you, Chief Batton, for bringing that up. Not about me, but about the movies. We're really thankful and proud of our heritage and the people who were able to portray in these movies. I hope that everybody will enjoy these stories about some remarkable Oklahomans, including a Hall of Fame member, Tayada Fisher.
Well, congratulations, Governor, on doing that. It's wonderful to tell our Oklahoma stories. And now to perform the national anthem, please welcome our Miss Oklahoma, Ashley Robinson, a teacher of English, language of arts at FD Moon Middle School in Oklahoma City. Ms. Robinson's social impact initiative creates better communities in every corner of the state by advocating for inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by for the national anthem by Miss Oklahoma, Ashley Robinson.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wasn't that beautiful? Let's give Ashley another big round of applause. Well, Governor, how about getting the inductions for the Oklahoma Hall of Fame class of 2021 underway? How about introducing our first presenter?
I'll be honored, Chief. Our first presenter is no stranger to this stage. A 2014 Oklahoma Hall of Fame inductee, a product of Southeastern Oklahoma, and country music superstar. Please welcome Blake Shelton.
That's pretty damn good. That's a good song. Hello, everybody. I'm Blake. I've known that I was going to come out here and do this for a few months now, at least, maybe longer than that. And I've been excited about it. It's been something that I haven't thought that much about because the guy that I'm going to be introducing is literally one of my best friends in the world, and easily the person that I have the strongest musical connection with of anybody on the planet. And I've spent, I don't even know how to add it up. I've spent, I mean, if you added it all up, months at a time with this guy in the studio working and recording, and I've had the greatest conversations with this guy that you can ever imagine. And so I thought this would be easy, you know. I mean, these are the kind of conversations that you wish you could have with your mom or your dad, you know, but you find this other person in your life that you have this great connection with, and you have those moments, you know. And so I thought, man, I'll get up there and I'll talk about, you know, the stuff that Scott and I talk about when we're in the studio working together. And it wasn't until last night, literally, as I was about to fall asleep, that I thought, man, I got to get up and get some things done, get up here tomorrow. And I started thinking about what I was going to say, and then I realized 95% of those conversations that we've had in the studio were about football, hot wings, and boobies. I'm sorry, Terri. That's just what guys do. So I decided that I would actually write some things down And so I'll just read this as I thought of it last night, knowing that I was going to be introducing one of the greatest people that I've ever met into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. Back in the early 90s, I was still just a teenager in Ada, Oklahoma, with the dream of being on the radio someday. And I remember a friend of mine, his name was actually Larry Large. He's the guy who introduced me into the Hall of Fame. He called me one day. I was still in high school, and he said, "Hey, you got to watch the news tonight. They're doing a story." And I think it was probably the CMAs or ACM week, whatever was going on. They were doing a story, a local story here in Oklahoma about Scott Hendricks, because he was probably up for no telling how many awards that night. Anyway, Larry said to me, he said, "You got to watch the news tonight, man. They're doing a story on Scott Hendricks, and he's the guy that's making all those records on Alan Jackson that you're hearing on the radio. He's the producer of Brooks and Dunn, Restless Heart. I really think you need to watch this story that's coming on the news, and then we just need to go meet him. And you're from Oklahoma. He's from Oklahoma. You're a country singer. He makes country records. This will be easy. He'll just like you because you're from Oklahoma, and you'll be a big star." So, obviously, after I moved to Nashville, I found out that Scott Hendricks was in very high demand. He was probably the most sought-after producer in Nashville then, and actually now, by the way, and I'm sure they're going to roll some stats about this guy here in a minute, and you're going to know what I'm talking about. But anyway, turns out that my path led me down a completely different direction when I got to Nashville, and my first big breaks just went a different direction. Didn't involve Scott Hendricks, and I had a little bit of success early on, but then the wheels started coming off a little bit for me as an artist, and my career and my personal life. Just things were going a little bit haywire in my life, and wouldn't you know it, as fate would have it, some changes were happening in Scott Hendricks' career at the same time too, and he ended up being the head of A&R for Warner Brothers Records. And when he came over to the label, he inherited me, this guy who was, at the time, a struggling artist, to B-level, quickly slipping to a C-level artist. And I was in need of a miracle and a record producer at the time. And there's a table full of people right there that can vouch for me. And, I think at the time Scott thought, well, this is my job. I just took over A&R at this label. I got to try to figure out how to help this kid. And I'll bet you that nobody in Nashville saw it coming, but the entire country music industry was about to find out what happens when you put two hard-headed Okies in a studio together. And we've had a hell of a run. I actually looked it up last night. I put it here somewhere. Oh, here it is, because I had to figure it out. Since Scott and I have started working together, we've had 24 number one hits together so far. And I put in parentheses here also, and some other should have been number one. Sorry. But, the truth is, Scott Hendricks didn't just make records on me. He changed my life. He really did. And I know this guy well enough to know that he absolutely agonized and hated to ask me to be here tonight because of my schedule, and he just never wants to put anybody out. But the truth is, I'd have moved mountains. I would have moved heaven and earth to be here for this guy tonight. This is one of my best friends in the world, and I am honored to be here tonight for Scott Hendricks. You deserve this. I love you, brother, and I'm proud to be here. I'm honored to introduce you.
From Clinton, Scott Hendricks is country music's most successful producer of the last quarter century. He has amassed more than 126 top 10 singles, with more than 78 peaking at number 1. His honors include 8 Academy of Country Music Awards, 4 CMAs, and an Emmy. He was inducted to the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame and the Oklahoma State University Alumni Association Hall of Fame, alongside longtime friend Tim Dubois, whom he traveled to Nashville with following graduation. Always interested in music, Hendricks remembers well what led up to his first guitar.
When I was 10, I saw, somewhere around age 10, I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And when I saw that, it just had a profound effect on me. I immediately picked up a broom, went out in the street, called my friends and gave them brooms, and I said, you stand like this, this is how Paul McCartney stands. You stand like that with your legs like this, that's how John Lennon stands, and let's just play like we're the Beatles, and then let's play like the girls are chasing us. And not knowing anything other than that, it literally changed my life and world, and I didn't know it at the time. So the next thing it was, well, I guess I better learn how to play guitar. So somewhere around that age is when I saw them and asked for a guitar for Christmas.
In high school, he was a 2-time All-State guitar bass musician in stage band and played in several bands honing his musical skills. At OSU, Hendricks worked part-time for 4 years at the Audiovisual Center, where he learned how to be a recording engineer. Arriving in Nashville, he sold recording equipment by day and worked for free in the recording studio at night. Quickly making a name for himself, Hendricks began engineering and mixing for Nashville's top producers. Hendricks has worked both independently as a producer and engineer, as well as in executive positions. In the early 90s, he founded the music publishing company Big Tractor Music. In 1995, he was named president and CEO of Capitol Records, signing Trace Adkins and Keith Urban to their record deals. In 1998, he opened the Nashville division of Virgin Records. His production credits are country's who's who, including Alan Jackson, Trace Adkins, Restless Heart, Brooks and Dunn, Faith Hill, Chris Cagle, Dan and Shay, and Blake Shelton, among countless others. In 2007, Hendricks joined Warner Music Nashville and is now the Executive Vice President of A&R, where he has signed and produced Dan and Shay and has been the producer behind Blake Shelton's last 8 albums. And Hendricks has appeared multiple times as a mentor on NBC's The Voice. With his wife, Terri, Hendricks has found a partner in faith who is equally committed to enriching the lives of others, along with his daughters, Keely and Shay. For over a decade, the couple has partnered with In His Wakes and Mercy Multiplied to create a Day to Remember event for spiritual growth through water sports in troubled lives of young women. This is just one of the many examples where lives are made better through the generosity of Scott Hendricks.
Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, Scott Hendricks.
Thank you, Blake. It truly means the world to me that you would take the time out of your crazy schedule to be here for me tonight. That's saying a lot. Blake is my favorite artist I can say I've ever worked with, and I'm grateful that he is my friend. I call him my brother, although that came into question last week when he was in Nashville taping some stuff for TV shows that are going to come out later. I was just tagging along for the day, and at the end of the day, I was sitting there, and a lady came up to me, and she said, "Are you Blake Shelton's dad?" It's like, oh my God. That hurt. May need some therapy for that one. Well, this is a long way from Clinton, Oklahoma. I'm humbled and honored beyond words for this night. But I didn't get here alone. I had a lot of help. And I wish I had time to thank each and every one of them, but I would like to acknowledge and thank a few. Starting with my parents, who, for some reason, they always encouraged my crazy dreams. My brother Mark, my blood brother Mark, played in countless bands with me as we were growing up, and he became my business advisor later, and he's always had my back. Diana Hammonds-Nito, who's over here somewhere, sang in a lot of those combos with us because Mark and I could not sing at all, and she sang really great. Floyd Loftus, who's also here tonight, who for some reason hired me to work in the Audiovisual Center. Floyd taught me everything about recording. He also introduced me to Tim Dubois, an Oklahoma musical icon who deserves to be in this hall. And Floyd gave us the keys to go into the studio after hours and record our demos that we would eventually take to Nashville. Our only stipulation was we had to be out by 8 a.m., which we did most of the time. Shortly after moving to Nashville, I met another OSU alum, Ron Treat, who's here with us tonight, who was a recording engineer for many of the iconic records coming out of Nashville. He invited me over to hang out and learn with him, and I did just that. And 9 months later, that studio hired me on, where I began my career as a recording engineer. Tim Dubois, who's sadly not here, and I held musical hands for years as we launched Restless Heart, Alan Jackson, Brooks and Dunn, to name a few of them. But because of him, I gained my producer wings. John Esposito, Espo, as we love to call him, president and CEO of Warner Music. For more than a decade, we've carved out a lot of musical history along with this table of incredible people who work at Warner Music who somehow make it all happen. Thank you very much. Thank you to Scott Petty, who's here, for being my best cheerleader, and I love to say that he was Pistol Pete. Gives me joy to tell everyone that. Thank you to Bruce, Shannon, Brenda, Janny, Michelle, and the entire Oklahoma Hall of Fame staff, as well as the Hall of Fame board, for making this such a special night. Thank you to all my family and friends who have joined us tonight. That just blows me away that you would take the time to be here. I wouldn't be here tonight without the support of my family, my beautiful wife, Terri, my precious daughters, Keely and Shay. You are everything to me. I thank you for all the sacrifices you've made for me to chase this crazy career. I couldn't love you all anymore. When I first moved to Nashville, I said a prayer, and I asked God to please bless me. I didn't ask him for a #1 record because I did not know what a #1 record was. I didn't ask him to please make me into a record producer because I did not know what a record producer was. I just simply asked him to bless me, and for some reason, he did. I don't know why. I did not deserve it, still don't, but he did, and I've certainly had a vicarious life, I think, because of that prayer. Thank you, God. I am very proud to be an Oklahoman. I promise to do everything I can to wear this honor with dignity and humility. May God bless Oklahoma. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Scott. Now it is my pleasure to welcome another member to the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, inducted in 2005 and the former dean of the University of the College of Law, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew M. Coates.
Good evening, and I am truly honored to be here to present Stan Evans for his entry into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. My first glimpse of Stan Evans was when I stepped in to teach my freshman torch class in the spring semester of 2001. Now, Stan stood out in that class. He was a rather large, mature, African-American person, which you might guess with our class of much younger law students made quite a different look for the class. I became intrigued with him and I found out about him. And as the semester progressed, I became very impressed with Stan, and what I noticed the most was the respect and affection that Stan received from his classmates. They loved him. Over the next year or so, I began to believe he would be the perfect person to fill a new Dean of Students position I was planning to establish for our college. In his senior year, I asked Stan to give up his dream of practicing law and being a judge to join me in academic administration. After some time to think about it and discuss the opportunity with Sandy, he agreed to come on board. The decision turned out to be a great thing for our college and for our students. He assumed the position after graduation, but prior to taking the bar. And I knew he was a good student, and I wasn't too much worried about it, but I thought it might be very awkward if my newly created Dean of Students flunked the bar exam. He passed, and I sure was glad about it. Over the years, Stan's patience, kindness, encouragement, and unwavering support helped so many students who had lost their way to get back on the path of success. He wasn't always easy on them, sometimes using his Dutch uncle treatment to get their attention. He and Sandy opened their home, their hearts, and sometimes their pocketbooks to help many along the way. You will hear a lot of great things about Stan tonight. You will hear of all the good things he has done to benefit so many others. What you won't hear is the heartfelt applause of so many young people across Oklahoma and beyond that are with us in spirit tonight. These are the people building successful personal and professional lives, but because at a time when they faltered and were lost, Stan Evans was there.
Stanley Evans, one of Clara Luper's kids, was captured in an iconic image as he sat in peaceful protest. Little did he know the gravity of his impact during this critical time in history, nor in the future. In 1968, Evans joined the United States Army, launching an exemplary career with service in Vietnam and rising to the rank of colonel. He served as Chief of the Signal Enlisted Career Branch, Regimental Adjutant of the Army Signal Corps, and attended the Army's War College before being promoted to colonel and assigned as Garrison Commander at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Twice during his tenure, Leavenworth was runner-up for the best managed fort in the Army. and he set aside time to mentor the youngest residents on base, instilling in them the importance of servant leadership. His final assignment was Dean of Students and Administration for the Command and General Staff College, the Army's premier academic institution. Evans was instrumental in the congressional proposal requesting $120 million for the college to have a new home. The Lewis and Clark Center was dedicated in 2007. Retiring from active duty in 2000, the post commander's residence was packed for the return to Oklahoma. For the more than 3 decades he had the privilege of serving his country, Evans credits his wife, Sandy.
Sandy Evans and I met when I was a first-year student at Oklahoma State University. That first week, I think I went down into the black part of town, and at that time it was called the Ville, and we were down there cleaning up an area, and Sandra was playing at a church. So I looked in, and she smiled at me. I fell in love with that smile. I really fell in love with that smile. Then it took me a whole year to work up enough nerve to say hello to her. It took me another whole year to work up enough nerve to ask her on a date. When I flunked out of college, Sandra Evans dropped out of college to marry me and follow me in the Army. And when I think about that, at the time, that didn't make any sense to me. But if I look at it later, I'm like, look at the tremendous sacrifice that woman made to help me become who I could become. And from that moment to this, she's been right by my side and just the person I need to move me forward.
Evans and Sandy arrived home, and Evans enrolled at the University of Oklahoma College of Law. Upon graduation at the age of 57, he was named Assistant Dean for Students, the first African American to hold a dean position at any law school in the state. Under his leadership, minority enrollment jumped 11%. The bar passage rate of minority graduates increased 15%, and the college was named one of the top 20 law schools for diversity in the nation. A recipient of the Pro Bono Person of the Year Award, the Ralph Ellison Award, and the Order of the Owl, among others, Evans retired in 2012. Continuing to serve the students, alumni, and college, it is preparing the next generation that is the greatest honor for Colonel Stanley Evans.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me present Stanley Evans.
Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet, on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on them steps, 'cause it finds you kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. This poem, Mother to Son, by Langston Hughes, reflects the life that God has given me. We should expect life to be a challenge. We should relish the opportunities that we are given to overcome. The words of this poem challenge us to accept responsibility, the responsibility to be strong, the responsibility to be great. I humbly accept this honor that I do not deserve. I have only accepted the teachings of Jesus Christ to help others to become better people. I thank God for giving me my many, many children. You inspire me. I thank you, Dean Coates. I thank you, President Harris. I thank you, Dean Guzman, for a platform to work from. You gave me the gift of the greatest minds in Oklahoma to mold. Thank you, Dr. Matra Jones, who thought more of me than I thought of myself. And finally, I want to thank my son, Stan, too, for making my dream come true. My brother, Ernest, who is my true role model. And my daughter, Lisa, who God used to change the direction of my life. And of course, the inspiration of my life for 53 years, Sandy Evans. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. I still going, I still climbing.
Colonel Evans, thank you for your service. To introduce our next honoree is a member of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, Class 2011, founder of Friends of the Mansion, award-winning author, and former First Lady for the state of Oklahoma, Cathy Keating.
A native Tulsan, Paula was born with limitless energy, passion, motivation, and the drive to make a difference. Early on, her determination turned life's hurdles into opportunities, which propelled her to stretch the boundaries of her world and the world around her. As a young mother, she worked the production line of the company her grandmother founded and that her mother and father built, all the while getting multiple university degrees. Apart from this, she simultaneously championed and helped create a voice for domestic violence intervention services of Tulsa, where we first met. Advocating for others has carried over to building a company into a culture of multiple employee assistance and scholarship programs. She truly values the worth of each individual. Multitasking has clearly been one of her many hallmarks. She's balanced her personal and community life with her entrepreneurial spirit, her superb management style, and the passion to effect positive change while bringing dreams to life. Amazingly, she started this journey in the early 1980s when there were no women in the top executives ranks of any Fortune 500 companies in America. Additionally, when being named CEO in 1992, there were only 3 women CEOs listed on that list. Since then, yes, please. Since then, she has guided Bama into becoming an Oklahoma company, an extraordinary Oklahoma company with a worldwide footprint. I recently saw a powerful photograph of United States Marine Corps Corporal Gabriel Green carrying a 200-pound fellow across her shoulders, running up a ramp. Emblazoned on her thigh is, "The fire inside me burns brighter than the fire around me." This also describes another woman we know, admire, and love.
Paula Marshall is the baby girl of Lila and Paul Marshall, who made Tulsa home and opened a Bama Pie location in 1937. Bama was founded a decade earlier by Paul's parents, Cornelia, Grandma Bama, and Henry Marshall. Marshall graduated from high school and went to work on the Bama production line to support herself when she left school early. Balancing work and school, Marshall earned bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees from Oklahoma City University. A heart attack suffered by her father shifted the family's focus to succession. Marshall, who believed her brothers would take the helm, was named general partner before becoming the company's chief executive officer in 1992. 7 years later, she became the sole owner. Under her leadership, sales grew from $30 million to more than $350 million. Expansion worldwide includes factories in China, Poland, and United Kingdom. Bama's clientele includes the #1 hamburger and #1 pizza restaurant chains, providing for continued growth and new jobs. For the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability, Bama was the first manufacturing B Corporation in Oklahoma. The company has earned countless awards, including the nation's highest presidential honor for performance excellence, the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, established by the U.S. Congress for the successful implementation of quality management systems. Marshall believes in building a strong culture, investing in every member of the team.
People helping people be successful with caring and accountability is our mission statement and has been since 1993, since I first started really getting into management and working with some folks around here, and I realized it was something that as we were going to grow the company, we needed to have something that was our rock, something that we could rely on through good times and bad. And I also wanted it to be something that people could remember and that people could actually internalize. And it's a very, very powerful mission statement for us because it infiltrates everything we do, from our culture here to what we do with our people systems to how we treat our folks to how people are helped all through the organization. And we don't just help them to get to work every day, but we help them in their mind, in their body, in their spirit. We provide a lot of counseling through the Bama Caring Center. We provide free legal help. We pay for all their education. We pay for people to, do anything that they want to do, anything that they can envision for themselves. We help them do that. And so I am so proud of the work we do to help people in all aspects of their life, not just to help Bama be successful, but to help people be successful in their everyday lives.
Investing locally also is important to Marshall, partnering with Food on the Move to end food deserts, San Miguel's Dancing with the Stars benefit for students from challenging situations, Trinity Woods to provide specialized care for those living with dementia, and 12 and 12 Recovery Center to battle addiction, among numerous other worthy causes. She has even taken the stage with the Eddie V Band for charity. With the engagement of Marshall's children, Bama Companies is sure to remain an Oklahoma and family-owned business. With a love for the outdoors, Marshall is an avid golfer and angler, celebrating her first hole-in-one at her home course of Southern Hills. Following a girls' trip, she discovered her love for fishing. The patience, commitment, and reward associated with the sport serve as the perfect analogy for the life and work of Paula Marshall.
Please help me welcome an extraordinary woman and my dear friend, Paula Marshall.
my goodness. Seems like a long time to get to here. I would like to, first of all, thank Cathy Keating and my special Matt Eaton out in the audience tonight for completing this exhausting nomination process for the induction to the Hall of Fame tonight. I'd like to thank the entire board, the team members of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who I happen to meet everyone over the last few months, and I just think that everyone that works at this organization is a superstar. As everyone in this room knows, a person doesn't receive an award like this without the love and support of their family, their friends, and my teammates at Bama who make our world so special. I would like to thank everyone that's associated with the Bama companies in the room tonight, and my friends and my family. Thank you for everything you do for me to make me successful. My personal mission is to love and honor every soul, every minute. And I certainly feel that I am living my mission tonight. In addition, I've been privileged to work with some of the world's finest customers, suppliers, and teams from our great city of Tulsa. Please accept my sincere gratitude for this honor and for helping me be successful by receiving so many blessings from all of you every day and my Creator. Thank you.
Congratulations on your induction, Paula. The former president of the University of Oklahoma, Tulsa, and special counsel to CIA Director George Tenet, Kenneth J. Levit is the executive director of the George Kaiser Family Foundation. Please welcome Ken Levit.
Thank you. Parents Frank and Bernice Johnson picked a bold name for their newborn son, Hannibal, named after the general who commanded the forces of Carthage, supported by a team of elephants against the great Roman Republic. Well, to me, reflecting on 25 years of friendship and his extraordinary career, Hannibal Johnson is worthy of that name. He surely is a warrior. He's dedicated his professional life to justice, to righting wrongs, and bettering our society. What makes Hannibal especially unique, maybe the elephant in his army, is his dedication to two values that he holds dear and irreconcilable: truth and dialogue. Hannibal Johnson has dived into the issues of racism, intolerance, and to combat them for all of his life. And most important is his method for that fight: conversation, facilitation, education, the quest for mutual understanding. While he's a dedicated student of the past and has written numerous histories to explicate it, focusing on Tulsa as his base case, it's his mastery of conversation, of facilitation, of de-escalation that his genius. Nothing about shame or guilt. He calls upon all of us to take responsibility. And that's a precious gift needed now more than ever. For every battle raging in America over what is taught in public schools, I wish we could bring Hannibal to that discussion. For every workplace or university debate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I wish Hannibal could be at its center. As his college friend Marvin Love told me, Hannibal knows that no story is so thin that it doesn't have two sides. And while he brings empathy to every situation, he never wavers from a central commitment: full candor and truth-telling as the path to justice. So Hannibal Johnson is a general in a historic army, one that has had as earlier leaders men like B.C. Franklin and John Hope Franklin, fighting each and every day, armed with pens and conversation in the timeless pursuit of equality and dignity for all.
Hannibal B. Johnson spent his early years in Mineral Wells, Texas, before relocating with his family to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and graduating from Northside High School. He elected president of his senior class, a member of the All-State Band and co-valedictorian. He also was named to Arkansas's Boys State. By the time Johnson entered high school, he understood the responsibility of serving others. After double majoring in economics and sociology at the University of Arkansas, Johnson earned his Juris Doctor degree from Harvard Law School. While a student, he served as comments editor for the Harvard Civil Rights Civil Liberties Law Review and a member of the Law School Forum. Degree in hand, Johnson relocated to Tulsa, where he had clerked during law school and continues to practice law, write, teach, and consult on diversity, equity, and inclusion. He serves on the Federal 400 Years of African American History Commission, where he chairs the Economics, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. He chaired the Education Committee for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial Commission, served as local curator for its History Center, Greenwood Rising, and continues to uncover new information and educate others on the historic significance of Black Wall Street and the Greenwood District.
I'm still learning things. I've been studying the history for more than 20 years and still uncovering stories and talking to people who have direct connections to the history. It's just fascinating. And as we know, because we just celebrated the centennial, the world is interested in our history, in part because our history is emblematic of so much of American history in the early 20th century.
Johnson served on the John Hope Franklin Center for Reconciliations Programs Committee, organizing multiple symposiums, and the Oklahoma Advisory Committee for the United States Commission on Civil Rights. He is a founding director of the Oklahoma Appleseed Center for Law and Justice, and past president of Leadership Tulsa, the Metropolitan Tulsa Urban League, and the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Johnson is a sought-after speaker, and his play Big Mama Speaks, a Tulsa race riot survivor's story, has been performed stateside and abroad. His many books record with precise accuracy all aspects of our history. They are a catalyst for acknowledgement and difficult discussion. He is a contributing writer to the Encyclopedia of African American History and wrote and narrated the documentary Black Wall Street Remembered. He welcomes every opportunity to travel, both overseas and at home. Whether for work or for pleasure, he finds a teaching moment in every mile. Lifelong learning is the lifeblood of Hannibal B. Johnson.
Please help me congratulate Hannibal Johnson.
Thank you, Ken, for that gracious introduction and for your enduring friendship. Thank you, Oklahoma Hall of Fame, for highlighting so many of the diverse voices that made and continue to make the Oklahoma chorus rich, robust, and resonant. Congratulations to my fellow Oklahoma Hall of Fame inductees. Rightly and proudly, Oklahoma salutes you. Thanks to the many friends and family members here to celebrate with us. Nobody does it alone. A special thank you to my late parents, Frank and Bernice West Johnson, who instilled in me a love of education and a commitment to community service. There's a part of them in all that I do, all that I am. As a child, my father instilled in me a poem that I memorized by a fellow named Edgar A. Guest. The first stanza says, in part, "Figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all that the greatest men have had. With this equipment, they all began. So start from the top and say, I can." My father wanted to ensure that I never doubted my potential, even in a world that would seek to limit it. One of my books, Mama Used to Say, is both a tribute to my mother and a family memoir. In it, I share stories, witticisms, and adages. My personal standard, my perfectionist tendencies, trace back to one of the adages in that book. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Perfection is aspirational, but maintaining that lofty aim can lead us to extraordinary places just short of goal. Who I am as a person, my moorings and values, shaped in large part by my parents, has everything to do with what I offer my community and my state. Much of my work centers on history. I served as local curator for Greenwood Rising, the Black Wall Street History Center here in Tulsa. On the outside of the building, we quote author James Baldwin. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. That's true of our history, and it's equally true of human relations. There's always growth potential. Perfection isn't possible, but improvement is. If we want a better Oklahoma, and surely we all do, then we must face facts. We must face fears, and we must face forward. We must acknowledge those uncomfortable truths about our past and ourselves. We must grapple with the fears that hold us down and hold us back. We must construct a vision that is inclusive and comprehensive, that moves us all forward. I'm still bullish on Oklahoma. I see our potential. I'm committed to continuing to do my part to help us level up, and I'm hoping to inspire others along the way. Once again, thank you, Oklahoma Hall of Fame, for this honor, and congratulations all.
Congratulations, Hannibal. As members of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame's Board of Directors, year-round, Chief Batton and I see firsthand the impact made every day by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. Its Gaylord Pickens Museum is accessible to every classroom in the state through the free field trip program. Online education programming is available to students and school districts statewide. And its publishing program ensures public school libraries receive book titles at no charge to enhance the resources available on Oklahoma and her people.
Governor, those are just a sampling of the many programs and opportunities that would not be available if not for the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. And just by being here tonight, each one of you are making the next 365 days of programming possible. Scholarships is one of my favorite programs. Annually, at least 10 scholarships are available to high school students in every county of the state. That is more than 770 scholarships, and one senior can earn $6,000 to continue his or her education. What an investment in our future. Yes. Now let's listen to the impact this program has had on one of our scholarship recipients.
I went through a lot of dental work as a child, and I can personally say dentistry changed my life, and that's why I'm here at the OU College of Dentistry today. As you know, college is very expensive. My mother was a junior high counselor, but my junior year of high school, she ended up having to walk out on her job due to medical issues. I knew if I wanted to go to college, it was going to be up to me to fund my way. We actually put out probably over 200 scholarship applications my senior year. I was fortunate enough to be fully funded for scholarships in undergrad. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame is, I think, an amazing organization. They inspire people and award inspiring people. I was very fortunate to receive the scholarship going into my senior year of high school, and to this day I'm still amazed that I was picked out as that recipient. I told them to watch out for me because one of these days it's my goal to become an inductee.
Again, you're making this possible, and thank you very much. Governor, I'm going to turn it over to you to present the next honoree.
Thank you, Chief. Our next honoree will be inducted posthumously. Although posthumous inductions don't occur every year, this individual is most deserving, and it's a privilege to introduce him to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Roscoe Dunjee.
Born June 21, 1883, in Harper's Ferry, Roscoe Dunjee was named for West Virginia Congressman Roscoe P. Conklin. Just shy of 10 years old, Dunjee arrived in Oklahoma with his family, the result of his father, Reverend J.W. Dunjee, being recruited to serve the thousands of blacks who had moved to Oklahoma and Indian territories in anticipation of the creation of an all-black state. Dropping out of school following the 8th grade to help support the family, Dunjee would make his home in Langston, where his father helped establish Colored Agricultural Mechanical and Normal School, known today as Langston University, and Guthrie before returning to Oklahoma City following statehood. A member of the Knights of Pythias, the first American order chartered by an act of Congress, Dunjee sporadically attended high school training classes at Langston. He focused on the printing trade and worked after hours in the print shop of the Langston Herald. He was paid for stories and editorials in a number of newspapers, often writing under the byline of another to ensure his content was published. In 1913, he purchased a small job printing plant in Oklahoma City, and on November 5, 1914, at the age of 31, Dunjee published the first edition of the Black Dispatch. Its unique masthead featured a train with cars of progress, truth, and light chasing a beam of faith. Dunjee became known for his oratory skills, championing the advancement of the people of his community through his activism and written word. His editorials spilled over into every aspect of life, exposing the KKK's pervasiveness in Oklahoma's executive and legislative branches of government, protesting Oklahoma's Jim Crow laws, challenging local ordinances requiring blacks to live in designated areas, crusading against all-white juries, and advocating for true, separate but equal opportunities for students in the classroom.
Douglas High School is a sham and a fake. It looks pretty, and from that standpoint, it's perhaps the best school in town with its air-cooled principal's office. But the guts of the thing is what I'm talking about. Negro children cannot get the same type of education there they can secure at Central High.
Recognizing that the courts were the only forum to provide relief for Oklahoma's civil rights struggle, Dunjee routinely raised funds to retain NAACP legal counsel Thurgood Marshall to lead local legal battles. Dunjee was instrumental in crumbling the walls of segregation in higher education, including the landmark cases against the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education when the University of Oklahoma denied George W. McLaurin admission to its graduate program in education and Ada Loisipuel Fisher to its College of Law. Both cases changed the opportunities and trajectory for minority students that followed. The words and actions of Dunjee had great influence, instilling pride and hope in a community where those emotions were sometimes hard to find. His voice was a buoy, his actions a model, and his fight a refuge.
When I think of Roscoe Dunjee, I think of individuals like the most prominent blacks that you can think of in Oklahoma and throughout the United States. And we always say we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Well, Roscoe didn't want us standing on his shoulders. He wanted us walking side by side with him. And not lifting ourselves up to any awards or honors, but doing things so that we can achieve, not necessarily for us, but for our children and our children's children. It worked. It worked. How many maids, how many handymen, how many laborers sent their children to school to do better, and beamed with pride when they saw their children's pictures in that newspaper and tore it out or cut it out and showed it to other people. Yeah. A reflection of ourselves as we are and as we can be and we must be. Important? Yes. Invaluable? And undoubtedly. If we did not have a Roscoe Dunjee, somebody would have had to have invented one of him. God did.
Yes, that he did. And I'll say again, yes, that he did. Thank you for that. I also want to thank Oklahoma Hall of Fame inductee Dr. George Henderson for helping us honor Mr. Dunjee. Our next presenter is a retired Oklahoma Supreme Court Justice, a 2009 Oklahoma Fame inductee, and has volunteered as stage manager for this event for the past 3 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Stephen W. Taylor.
Justice Kauger, no living Oklahoman has influenced the course of the law in our state more than Justice Yvonne Kauger. She has devoted over 40 years of her life in service of our court and in dedication to the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary. As our senior justice, she guards the institutional foundation of the Supreme Court, and she helps to ensure that every time the court speaks, it follows the command of the law. And as a woman who has been first so many times and who has shattered that glass ceiling so many times, she stands as a champion to every young woman who aspires to the high calling of public service. I have known her for these 40 years. She is one of my best and closest friends. We have spirited discussions, sometimes disagreements, about the law and public policy. But in the end, I have the strongest of love and respect for her. I have watched her make a difference so many times just by the power of her intellect and by her ethical North Star. In our profession, she is a star. And now let's look at the good life of Yvonne Kauger.
A fourth-generation Oklahoman, Yvonne Kauger was born in Cordell and raised on the Lazy K in Colony, a centennial ranch. Kauger acquired her love for basketball from her father, John, who met her mother, Alice, at a game in Lake Valley. A graduate from Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Kauger worked at Medical Arts Lab after finishing her medical technology internship at St. Anthony Hospital while earning her Juris Doctor degree at night from Oklahoma City University School of Law. She graduated first in her class. Modeling while in law school, she appeared in several publications including Time magazine. After becoming the first woman judicial assistant on the Oklahoma Supreme Court for Justice Ralph Hodges, in 1984, Governor George Nye appointed her to Oklahoma's highest court as the second woman justice. As Chief Justice, she addressed a joint session of the legislature, setting in motion a new home for the judiciary. Kauger sweetened the quest with countless oatmeal Krispies that she baked and brought to all Appropriation Committee meetings. The Oklahoma Judicial Center opened in 2011 and is home to impressive museum-quality collections of art. And the Art in Public Places Committee, chaired by Kauger, received the Governor's Arts Award. The center has hosted an array of guests, from United States Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor and Sonia Sotomayor, who met with tribal leaders, to Harlem Globetrotters great Marcus Haynes. There is no greater advocate for the arts than Kauger. She co-founded Red Earth and opened Colony's Gallery of the Plains Indian in the post office, built by her great-grandfather. And investing in her hometown hasn't stopped. In addition to Graham Cottage and John Kauger Memorial Park, she was the driving force behind Eric Tipiconic's murals and Patrick Riley's Eagle. And the Colony Museum, celebrating town and tribal history, opened to the public. Combining her love of law and art, she has coordinated the Sovereignty Symposium, a seminar on Indian law, since its inception. Kauger has received countless awards, but one made a young girl's dream come true.
Yes, one of my highest honors is to be adopted by the Cheyenne Arapaho. On Labor Day, the same year that I was appointed to the court, my mother said she didn't see why I wanted to be adopted. I had two perfectly good parents, and I said I had the best parents, there's no question about it. She would retrieve me from the powwow grounds when I was a little girl. In those days, the drums were going every night, and I would go down and she'd have to come and get me. And as a consequence, I never really learned to dance of any sort. And when I was adopted, I did my best, as we did the dance during the ceremony. And afterwards, I went over and said to her, well, what'd you think? And she said, you still haven't learned how to dance.
Along the way, Kauger has discovered friendships and experiences she will cherish for a lifetime. She is the doting mother of Jonna Kauger Kirshner and son-in-law Bruce Scambler, and the beloved Zorro to grandsons Jay and Winston and granddaughter-in-law Bridget. A growing family, new generations of the Kauger clan is the real dream come true for Justice Yvonne Kauger.
She lives her life by the rule, do right, fear not. Do right, fear not. Justice Yvonne Kauger.
Thank you, Steve. It's a blessing to be introduced by a beloved colleague who always has your back. I had wonderful parents. My daddy told me I could do anything I wanted to do, and I could be anything I wanted to be. He also bought me a t-shirt. I still have it. It said, anything boys can do, girls can do better. My mother said, and you'd better do it right. They were my role models, along with my Aunt Lucille, who taught school until she was 65, retired, learned to ride a bicycle, speak Swahili, and served 2 terms in the Peace Corps. I was also shaped by Sandra Day O'Connor, Elma Wilson, and Helen Cole. But no one helped me more than daddies with daughters. Dr. Rex Kenyon hired me the first day of my internship at St. Anthony as a medical technologist. Senator Cleta John Rogers insisted that I work for him when law firms weren't hiring women. Justice Ralph Hodges asked me to be the first staff lawyer who was a woman on the Oklahoma Supreme Court after the same court had rejected his request to hire a woman just 2 years before. Bill Sellers and Richard Smith helped me at Colony. Coach Bell gave me encouragement, and Governor Nye appointed 2 women in a row. Thank you, Governor Nye. When I wrote Justice Ginsburg to congratulate her on her appointment as the second woman on the United States Supreme Court, she replied, "Sometimes second is better." I am grateful to them, to my colleagues, family, friends, and my staff. Kyle, when you see me, you usually see Kyle, Julie, Vanessa, and Beth. I'm also grateful to Patrick Riley, Mayor Lonnie Yearwood, Eric Tippeconic, Jim Van Diemen, Ron Lowry, Bill Renner, Terry Zinn, Glenn Henry, and Bruce Scambler, who are turning Colony into an arts colony. You don't want to be my friend, or I will put you to work. Check it out at colonyok.com. I've been asked if Red Earth, the Sovereignty Symposium, the Judicial Center, or the Colony Renaissance is my legacy. No, my legacy is my daughter Jonna and my 2 practically perfect grandsons, Jay and Winston. Watch them.
It's so well deserved, Justice Kauger. Again, congratulations. Presenting our next honoree is a former Tulsa television executive and current development consultant with Allied Arts in Oklahoma City. Please welcome Terri Cornett.
When I nominated Jim for this honor, I thought he would be introduced by one of his celebrity friends, a famous CEO, or perhaps a former president of the United States. Well, here we are. And you have Jim and his wife, Crystal, to blame for that. Jim is a self-made, accomplished man, and he is blind. He is humble, and he doesn't seek recognitions for his achievements. There's an international award called Humanitarian of the Year. Jimmy Carter won it, so did Nancy Reagan and Mother Teresa. In the year 2000, Jim Stovall was chosen for funding a treatment to eradicate blindness for children in third world countries. There's more. To honor his father's 57-year career at Oral Roberts University, Jim donated funds to renovate the administration building, which is now the Stovall Administrative Center. Also at ORU, he created the Stovall Center for Entrepreneurship and is generating young entrepreneurs who will no doubt impact our world. I've known Jim for almost 30 years and stand in awe of his intelligence, determination, creativity, and availability. He takes calls and counsels people from all over the world who have heard him speak or read his books. He simply makes our world better, one person at a time. Jim has counseled leaders from around the state and around the world, almost always from behind the scenes. Steve Forbes says, quote, "Jim Stovall is one of the most extraordinary men of our era. I believe Jim is the Will Rogers of today." Let's learn more about the amazing Jim Stovall.
The third of 4 children, Jim Stovall was born and raised in Tulsa. The immense love, faith, and optimism in the home would prove a solid foundation for Stovall when, during high school, he was diagnosed with a rare condition that ultimately would result in his loss of sight. Scouted heavily, playing collegiate and professional football following high school was no longer an option. He turned his attention to weightlifting, becoming a national champion Olympian weightlifter. The first visually impaired student to enroll at Oral Roberts University, Stovall met Crystal Smith when she was one of the several students assigned to read aloud his textbooks. Smitten, Stovall requested only Crystal from that day on, telling administrators he would either get through his education and life with her, or he wouldn't make it at all. Stovall and Crystal graduated with honors and were married in 1981. Unable to find traditional work and totally blind, Narrative Television Network was born during a time of despair and depression.
After losing my sight, I moved into this little 9 by 12 foot room in the back of my house. I thought I'd never leave again, and I had my radio, my telephone, and my tape recorder, and that was my whole world. At age 29, the thought of ever leaving there was as foreign to me as going to the moon. I thought I'll just die here in this room. But before I'd lost my sight, that room had been our TV room. And one day, out of just sheer boredom, I went over and put a video of one of my favorite classic films, a Humphrey Bogart film, on, and I thought, I'll just be able to listen to this. I've seen it so many times. I'll be able to listen to this and follow along. But it worked for a while, but then somebody shot somebody and somebody screamed and the car sped away, and I got really frustrated, and I said the magic words. I said, somebody ought to do something about that, and the next time you get frustrated and you hear yourself say that, you just had a great idea. And the whole world's praying for a great idea, and they trip over one about 3 times a week. And the only thing you got to do to turn your great idea into a great opportunity is ask one more question: how could I help other people avoid that? And that was the beginning of narrative television. And we simply add soundtracks to existing television and movie between the dialogue of the characters so that people can hear what they can't see.
Narrative Television Network won an Emmy Award during its first season and numerous industry honors since, including an International Film and Video Award. It was the release of his first book, You Don't Have to Be Blind to See, that launched Stovall's speaking career, where addressing thousands at a packed arena is just as important as inspiring the next generation. And the demand grew for additional works. His 8th book and first novel, The Ultimate Gift, became a publishing phenomenon and resulted in a movie trilogy, the first being premiered in Stovall's hometown of Tulsa. With more than 50 books and 8 movies to his credit, where Stovall is known for making cameos, he has worked alongside a wide range of celebrities and mentors. Reared in a loving and faithful family, married to his best friend Crystal for more than 40 years, and building a career that continues to provide opportunities for others, prove life is indeed the ultimate gift for Jim Stovall.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present Jim Stovall for induction into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. As I was climbing the 9 steps back there that lead to this stage, I was once again reminded that we do walk by faith and not by sight. I don't know who installed those stairs, but it was not a blind man, I can assure you. I want to thank Terri Cornett for both nominating me and introducing me. This honor is much more of a tribute to her tenacity than anything I've done. I met Terri a number of years ago. I had just lost my sight, and I agreed to go give a speech to raise money for some charity. And the only individual I had worked with that was trained to help me was in the hospital. So somebody else came to help me, and they just stranded me there. I was in a strange place. I had no idea where I was. There were all these people around. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was about to have a panic attack. And then I heard this voice next to me say, "Hi, my name's Terri, and I'll be here to help you as long as you need me." And that's been 30 years, and she's still there whenever I need her, and I want to thank her once again for being here tonight. Obviously, I want to thank Miss Crystal. Everything begins and ends with her. I wouldn't be on this stage tonight, nor would I have been at this podium without her. So literally and figuratively, she's a part of everything I do. We've been married 40 years, on our way to forever together. And as they pointed out in the video, I met Crystal in college when she was reading my textbooks to me. What they didn't tell you, she graduated first in our class. I graduated second. Now, graduating second is not that bad a deal unless you live with number one. Of course, over the last few years, I've developed a new theory on this. You see, I'm not sure she read me that entire book. I have no evidence to support that, but it makes me feel better. Every day when I get up very early and read a book every morning before I go to the office at Narrative Television, but when I go into my home office, there's a poster there on the wall that my staff gave me. It's about 4 feet long, and it lists 36 attributes of success. And number one is marry the right person. And every day when I walk into my office a little after 4 in the morning, I reach out and touch that and remind myself, whatever else happens today, you got that one right. Thank you. I am delighted to have my father, George Stovall, here tonight. A few weeks ago, we celebrated his 90th birthday, and thank you. And he worked his entire career for Oral Roberts and ORU, and I looked it up. It was 50 years ago this month. He attended another induction into the Hall of Fame when Oral Roberts was inducted. And I can assure you, I don't think either one of us would be in this if it wasn't for George Stovall. So I thank him tonight for being here and being a part of this. I remember when I received one of the last diagnoses from a medical expert that told me I would be blind, and he said, "You'll never have a normal life." And I told my dad that. I was very upset, and he said, "Son, I never figured being normal was anything worth aspiring to." I want to thank my brother, Bob Stovall, and his wife, Lisa, for traveling to be here with us tonight. I have gotten far much more wealth, acclaim, fortune, and notoriety for writing about good people who do great things and change the world, and then turning those stories into movies. And while I've been writing about it and making movies about it, my brother just does it. And I'm very proud of him and proud to have him as my brother. To the Narrative Television Network family and team, you guys know better than anybody, this is not a me thing, this is a we thing. And, you know, we set out 30 years ago to do well in business, but to do good in the world. And something is true now that wasn't true then. 13 million people can watch movies and television, and over 1 million young blind children can go to school with their sighted peers because you guys at Narrative Television do what you do. And helping blind people see is about as good as you can get, and we have been proud to do well while doing good. And to my ORU family, many of you are here tonight, I want to thank you. Not just the education I received, but the ideal that came out of there, a university founded on the principle that I could go through life, even someone like me could go through life and expect a miracle. And guys, if you expect one, you'll get one. And I am very grateful to the ORU family for that and for allowing me to be a part of their vision going forward as they go into every person's world and change lives now and for eternity. And I'm very grateful for that. And finally, my fellow Oklahomans, I tend to look at awards like this much more as a challenge to do better in the future than a tribute to anything I may have done in the past. And as I think about my home state of Oklahoma, I think about our promise and our potential, and I realize if we can pull together, follow in the footsteps of our leaders, but as we move ahead, make sure everybody's on board, I believe that we can do that and leave Oklahoma a little better than we found it. And if we can do that, ladies and gentlemen, we will have not passed this way in vain. Thank you so much. Good night.
Congratulations, Jim. Our final presenter for the evening is a former agent for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and senator for the state of Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, James R. Wilkerson.
I have always had a reoccurring nightmare that I'd be the dumbest guy on the stage. And I'm afraid that has come true. I do appreciate the Hall of Fame pushing me out here following Jim Stovall. That was great. My grandmother and grandfather were great philosophers. Of course, they were farmers, so they had to be. And my grandma said, she always talked about good company and keeping good company. And my grandpa said that a self-made man was about as possible as a self-laid egg. And time has woven for me the realization that they were both right. From humble beginnings in a traditional Cheyenne and Arapaho home, Harvey Pratt has risen to national prominence through his art, forensic innovation, and cultural contributions. He's developed groundbreaking techniques in forensic science that have become the gold standards in criminal investigation. Police departments and criminal investigation agencies nationwide seek his expertise. He has been instrumental in solving thousands of cases in more than 40 states. Balancing the horror that he witnessed for more than a half a century in his chosen profession, Harvey's art, be it painting or sculpture, reflects the character and the nobility and the beauty of his native Oklahoma and its people. He's been recognized internationally for his artistic contributions, which are displayed at most of our most prestigious institutions, including on the Mall in Washington, D.C. now. Harvey's unselfish, peaceful dedication to his people and profession inspires all for all who know him. Harvey's always served. As a combat Marine, he served. As a police officer at Midwest City, he served. As an assistant director, an OSBI agent, and a forensic science at the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, he served. And as a peace chief for the people of the Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation. I believe it is only fitting that we as Oklahomans recognize formally what the rest of the nation, or a substantial part of it, already knows. You see, Harvey Pratt is many things, but to much of the nation, especially the law enforcement nation, Harvey Pratt is the man from Oklahoma. When I speak as a friend and a colleague, my words seem meager and inadequate to describe the accomplishments and contribution of this good man.
Raised by a single mother, Harvey Pratt is of Arapaho, Cheyenne, Sioux, French, and English descent. One of 7 children, Pratt began crafting his toys from clay and drawing at an early age. Following graduation and before joining the Marines, he studied commercial illustration at Central State University, but switched to psychology because professors were critical of his work. In Vietnam, he served in an air rescue unit and provided security for Da Nang Air Base. Upon returning stateside with an honorable discharge, Pratt joined the Midwest City Police Department, earning the rank of detective and a degree in police science from Oklahoma State University, before transitioning to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. He also began painting again. Ranked as one of the top forensic artists in the United States, Pratt created thousands of soft tissue reconstructions and hundreds of sketches. His high-profile cases included Osama bin Laden, Ted Bundy, Terry Nichols, and Jean Leroy Hart. A graduate of the FBI Academy, Pratt has made possible thousands of arrests and given names to hundreds of unidentified remains and closure to the families. After more than 50 years fighting crime, he retired in 2017. For his lifelong commitment to serve and protect, his honors include induction to the Oklahoma Law Enforcement and the Oklahoma Military Halls of Fame. He also was chosen as a member of the Council of 44 Cheyenne Peace Chiefs, assuming the name White Thunder in honor of his great-great-great-grandfather, and named an honored one by Red Earth. Art has been many things to Pratt, a tool to solve a crime and respite from its darkness. It is a means to share his heritage as well as record historical significance. A self-taught, award-winning master artist, his paintings are held globally in public and private collections. When the Smithsonian announced it was accepting submissions for its National Native American Veterans Memorial to be featured in the last available space on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., Pratt went to work. His Warrior's Circle of Honor was selected from more than 400 blind submissions. The stainless steel, granite, and bronze Circle of Life design incorporates in harmony the 573 federally recognized tribes, sound, water, lances, and prayer cloths. Pratt's desire to create an intimate, interactive space for gathering, reflection, and healing for all generations had been achieved. And it is the National Mall's only monument or memorial designed by an Oklahoman.
This design is timeless because if my great-grandfather walked in here, he would recognize these elements. And veterans today can walk in here and they'll recognize those elements, something about it that they'll recognize. And my grandchildren and their grandchildren will walk in here and they'll recognize those elements. And the beauty to me is that a lot of other cultures have those same things.
Growing up in El Reno, Pratt's was the only Indian family in the neighborhood. This experience strengthened the bond between he and his siblings and reinforced the importance and blessings of family. He is the proud father of Jason, Tracy, Judson, and Nathan, and never takes for granted the time spent and memories made with his children and grandchildren. With his wife Gina, Pratt makes his home outside of Guthrie. The rural setting provides for a deeper connection with Mother Earth and serves as a source of peace and inspiration for his work. Preserving and celebrating the role of our native people through his art is a responsibility readily owned by Harvey Pratt.
If you would allow me just a personal testimony. This gentleman is one of the toughest people I've ever met. He spent his life standing between the predator and the prey. He has always gave. I if I haven't expressed my feelings as clearly as I should, let me just say I love Harvey Pratt. Ladies and gentlemen, Harvey.
Good evening. I want to thank Senator Dick Wilkerson and the Cheyenne Arapaho governor and his staff are here, and the Red Earth staff is here, and that makes me feel good. And you're here. This makes me really, really feel good. I want to thank the Hall of Fame. The Creator gives all of us a special gift. Not everyone recognizes these gifts. There are those that do. I've been very fortunate to be in the presence of people that shared their gifts with me. I've been fortunate to be in the company of very positive people with strong commitment and dedication to a purpose that rubbed off on me. The Creator blessed me with a strong family and a wife that has helped me become who I am. I'm a composite of my ancestors and friends. Thank you all, and I thank the Creator. Good evening. Thank you.
Well, Harvey, congratulations. What a career. And congratulations to the 2021 Oklahoma Hall of Fame honorees, bringing the total number of Oklahomans who have received our state's highest honor since the first induction in 1928 to 722. Well, Governor, we did it. The 94th Annual Oklahoma Hall of Fame induction ceremony is coming to a close. Learning more about this year's honorees has left me inspired and in awe. Our people make me so proud to be an Oklahoman.
I couldn't agree more, Chief. And the vast array of contributions we've celebrated here tonight are the perfect example of all that can be realized when diversity is incorporated into all that we do. Now, let's welcome back the Oklahoma Hall of Fame class of 2021, led by Miss Oklahoma, Ashley Robinson, to close tonight's show with the best state song. In our languages, okay, we don't have a word for goodbye, so we would say, Chapisa Latro.
And in Choctaw Nation, we say, Chapisa La Chiki.
Good night, everyone.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet